This is the Capital Games Movie Club. I am the Wiz. Today, we have a chunky special segment that we have today here on the Capital Games Movie Club. I'm going to talk about who I think will make Best Picture at this year's Oscars. Of course, the Oscars are going to be announced on Tuesday, January 24th, with the ceremony being held on March 12th, 2023. Since there is going to be 10 nominations for the Best Picture, I figure I'm going to have to make 10 snubs. So why don't we get into what I think the 10 movies that were close but are going to get snubbed for getting Best Picture consideration this year. So let us get started. The snubs start with Avatar: The Way of Water. I know that some of you are thinking, well, wait a minute. Avatar: Way of Water is killing at the box office. It's up to $2 billion right now. Wouldn't that be the one movie, if they were going to go blockbuster heavy, that they would put that in there as Best Picture? You'd think so. But the problem also is with Avatar that the critics and people who have seen it, other than big fans of Avatar itself, have said essentially that this is about as good, or maybe not as good, as the original Avatar. And when Avatar got nominated for Best Picture that year, there was some grumblings too. There were some issues involving the story not being as original as it could have been. The writing wasn't that great, even though it got nominated for Best Screenplay that year, I think. So there was that problem as well. This will lead to Avatar, I think, getting snubbed when it comes to Best Picture. There's also other blockbuster films that are in contention as well, as you will see. And these amount of blockbusters, which is rare for the Oscars usually, this will lead to, I think, Avatar getting pushed out, even though it is making a killing at the box office. So Avatar: The Way of Water, I think, is going to get snubbed. The next one's Babylon. Yeah, I've talked about Babylon and the numerous snubs it's going to get in Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Supporting Actor. And it comes down to, basically, it wasn't as good as a lot of people thought it was going to be. It was very divisive. There are people who love this movie. There are critics who love this movie, but there are others who do not like it and don't really like what it's saying or what the film is really about. And usually Babylon is a movie, because it's about the film industry, would lead to getting a nomination like that, and there was no question because it is about the film industry. But since it's so divisive, and there are some objectionable things in the movie, let's say, this will probably lead to Babylon not getting nominated for Best Picture. The next one is something that might shock you. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is the next snub I have. This really just boils down to the fact that it didn't reach the exact same threshold that the original Black Panther did. I'm not even talking about quality of the film itself. I think that has been, that's depending on who you think, who is speaking, how they feel about it. If you remember Black Panther, when it got nominated for Best Picture, that the year got nominated, which was a surprise to a lot of people. Black Panther was a cultural phenomenon as well as a big box office hit. I think this did end up being a hit when it came to the box office. It didn't go anywhere near the cultural significance that the first Black Panther did. And that will lead to the Academy pretty much saying, we don't have to nominate this because it didn't reach what the first Black Panther did. And this is something that the Academy often does when it comes to sequels to movies. Did it reach or exceed what the original did? Then no, we're not going to nominate it. There are very few exceptions. I think The Godfather, is the one exception I can think of, and Godfather 2 getting nominated, even though, in my personal opinion, I think 2 is better than 1, but anyway. So I think this will lead to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever not getting nominated for Best Picture. The next one might also be a surprise, but unless you've been listening to the other snubs that I put out there and the predictions I have, it may not. I think The Whale is going to get snubbed. I think The Whale is going to get snubbed hard when it comes to nominations this year. I think there is a possibility it will get Best Screenplay, and that is about it on The Whale. The Whale, before it came into release, was getting a lot of huge buzz. the performance from Brendan Fraser was the main thing people were talking about. So everyone was saying, oh, it's the big comeback for Brendan Fraser. And that's all that was talked about around the film. You hear a little bit of, oh, yeah, the film's great too. But Brendan Fraser is a revelation. And this led to a lot of people saying, oh, it's the Brendan Fraser comeback career, and it's going to be Brendan Fraser leading the charge to getting Best Actor and The Whale getting everything else. Well, the problem was it got released, I think, in December, and critics were kind of mixed. I think it overall got a fairly positive review, but it wasn't, like, glowing. Some didn't like how it portrayed the character. Others felt it was, quote-unquote, fat-phobic when it came to what the movie was saying. And with how socially conscious the Oscars and the Academy is right now, I don't think they want to add another controversy on top of the other controversies that they have on their plate, even though I think if it did get nominated, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. And on top of that, it's the talk of The Whale and its meteoric rise to getting Best Picture nominations and like a lot of nominations has slowed significantly. It really has. Now, I've talked that even though I think Brendan Fraser will get snubbed for his Best Actor, that there is still a possibility he will get in. But I think this will not lead to The Whale getting an Oscar nomination for Best Picture. I think it will get snubbed hard on this one, and I'm fairly comfortable in thinking that it will. So I will say that The Whale will get snubbed for Best Picture. The next one is Women Talking. The thing with the Women Talking is that the critics and people who have seen it adore this movie. Thinks it's a really good movie that deserves a lot of attention and a lot of talk and a lot of awards. The problem is it's been getting none of that. Almost none of the awards in the award season, like Critics' Choice, the Golden Globes, the Critics' Circles. Women Talking hasn't been getting much. There's been a few nominations sprinkled here and there, but other than that, Women Talking hasn't been getting anything. And this will lead to me thinking it will get snubbed for Best Picture. It's going to upset a lot of people because they look at Women Talking as kind of an important movie and something that deserves to be seen and recognized. And I think Women Talking will be one of those movies in a few years where more and more people will give it a shot and will probably sing its praises. And then when it comes down to, what movie should have been nominated for Best Picture but didn't, this will probably be the main one. Other than that, I think Women Talking is getting snubbed hard. I think it's just not going to make it. So that's Women Talking getting snubbed for Best Picture. One that I would have said a few months ago would have been a surprise. Now I don't think so anymore is The Woman King. So I talked about this when I thought Viola Davis is going to get snubbed for Best Actress, when Gina Price-Bythewood is going to get snubbed for Best Director. I think Woman King is getting snubbed for Best Picture as well, and that is mainly to do with the fact that this movie is like a mishmash between two different types of methodologies when it comes to filmmaking in the Hollywood system, and that is a mix of independent and blockbuster. This year, it looks like that the Academy wants to honor both, but not ones that mash both together. They want clear distinctions as to what is what, who is who, and who are the ones that we're honoring. And this leaves The Woman King in a fairly sizable predicament, because The Woman King, from what I've read and what I've heard from critics, is that it's kind of both in a way, but not really. There are some really good action sequences. There is some depth to the characters that is unlike most blockbusters. Still, it's kind of hard to really differentiate what it is. Is it a blockbuster movie? Well, it's too thoughtful for a blockbuster movie. Is it an art house movie, or is it an independent film? It's not as thought-provoking as an independent film. So this will lead to The Woman King, I think, getting snubbed. On top of that, The Woman King the talk on it has died down significantly. A dangerous place you want to be in when it comes to getting nominated for Oscars is that no one's talking about it, or that maybe your nomination is a foregone conclusion. that's probably the worst place to be in, because what ends up happening is people are like, oh yeah, that's whatever, that'll get nominated, I don't need to worry about that, but I'm going to watch this movie, and I think this movie is actually pretty good, but that will get it, so other people will vote for it, I think I'll vote for this one. And what ends up happening is that enough people do that, and it doesn't get nominated. And I think that's what's going to happen with The Woman King. So Woman King gets snubbed for nomination for Best Picture. The next one is She Said. This is another one like Woman Talking that essentially comes down to people who've seen it really like it, really think it deserves praise, but not enough people have seen it. Period. That's it. That's all it is with She Said. Apparently there's a lot of performances that get a lot of praise in the movie. It's a movie that if people have seen that they end up really liking, and I'm glad that I have seen it, and they sing their praises of the movie. But for some reason, others are not keen into watching this movie, so they kind of leave it to the wayside. This will probably be another one of those films, like Woman Talking, where in a couple of years, people actually come around to seeing it, really enjoy it, and wonder why it didn't get nominated, and this is probably going to be why. So I think She Said will get snubbed for Best Picture. The next one I think is going to get snubbed for Best Picture is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. There's only one reason why this is going to get snubbed, and that is there's an anime feature section in the Oscars, and since then I think the only movie that has been nominated for Best Picture that is an animated film was Up. Ever since they did a Best Animated Feature, I might be wrong. I think Finding Nemo got I think it's Up. I think Up is the last one. But since then, it has been very rare for a animated feature to get Best Picture nomination when this other category is there specifically for animated features. It will get nominated there and win, but I don't think it will lead to it getting nominated for Best Picture, sadly. I would like to see more animated films get nominated for Best Picture, but yeah, that's just how it is now. So I think Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio gets snubbed. The next one is Park Chan-wook's Decision to Leave. I think there's going to be more movies that are foreign language based that are going to get nominated for Best Picture this year. I'm going to tell you who it is when that time comes, of course. But something is telling me that Decision to Leave is going to be the one that gets snubbed on here. The talk around it has been quiet, I should say. And that's mainly because Decision to Leave was released in around May or June after it won in Cannes pretty well. And there has been a concerted push to put it on streaming platforms and to get people to watch it. Unfortunately, they chose Mubi in order to do that, a very understated, very seldom seen streaming service that if they really wanted more people to see it, I think they would have chose like HBO Max or Netflix, but they chose Mubi for some reason, and I think that was a tactical mistake on that one. Not that I have a problem with Mubi, I like Mubi, but in order to get more people to talk about it and to want to have it nominated, that really was not a good decision to put it on Mubi. I think with that tactical error that they made, and the fact no one's talking about it really anymore, I think that's going to lead to Decision to Leave getting snubbed for Best Picture. And finally, I think the last one that's going to get snubbed is Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery. There is one big reason why I think Glass Onion is probably not going to get nominated, and that's the fact that it's on Netflix. I know some of you are like, well, wait a minute, Mank got nominated, Roma got nominated. What's wrong with Glass Onion being on Netflix? Well, the problem is that it's a Blockbuster movie, and most people, when they want to nominate Blockbuster movies, want to talk about how much money it made. And Glass Onion only had a week in the box office to make money, and then Netflix threw it right onto the service about a few weeks later. There's no discernible way to figure out how much money that Glass Onion made because it's now entrenched in the Netflix sphere where it's just going to be on that service. So there's no way of knowing, how much money did it make? You don't know because it's on Netflix now. And you can't figure out what it is. This will lead to Glass Onion, I think, getting snubbed. And even then, I know some people who have sung the praises of this movie, think that Janelle Monáe is very good in the movie. But when it comes to a blockbuster, what matters most when it gets nominated for Best Picture is how much money did it make. And not only just if it's good, but did it make a lot of money too. Because if it didn't make a lot of money and it's a blockbuster and it's great, they don't get nominated. And that's going to be the issue with Glass Onion. It didn't make money because really Netflix had no intention of it to make money, and that will lead to it getting snubbed for Best Picture. Okay, let us get down to the final 10 nominees for Best Picture, who I think will be the predicted nominees for Best Picture. Let's go with the obvious one. Let's go with The Fabelmans. Steven Spielberg, a directed film. They usually always get nominated. Look at War Horse. Look at Munich. Look at a bunch of other films that are his lesser-known films, Amistad, that get nominated, even though I think not a lot of people have seen it. So Fabelmans will definitely get it. And also, this movie is about Spielberg, someone that the Academy adores. So they're going to nominate this movie. So Fabelmans gets nominated for Best Picture. The next obvious one is going to be Banshees of Inisherin. Martin McDonagh has been getting a lot of praise for this movie. He's been getting a lot of praise for other movies that he's done. In Bruges, I believe, was snubbed big time when it was released around the time for Best Picture, so they're going to make up for that here. On top of that, Banshees of Inisherin's gotten a lot of praise. A lot of people like the movie. Colin Farrell's going to get nominated for Best Actor. A bunch of actors can get nominated for Best Actor in their categories in this movie. It is going to be a big movie that I think will get a lot of nominations this year, so this is a lock for Best Picture. Another lock for Best Picture, Tar. Tar is another one that is just catnip for the Academy. It is an erudite movie with a central key performance from an actress they really, really like to honor, and it also has a director that has not been directing for over a decade, who came out, banged it out of the park, and put up a great movie. This will lead to the director getting nominated, Todd Field. This is going to lead to Cate Blanchett getting nominated. Of course, she's the front runner. It might lead to other actors getting nominated. It's going to get screenplay. It's going to get cinematography. It's going to get a bunch of award nominations. This is going to be the movie that I think gets the most nominations out of any film this year, because this is the type of film that when the Academy gets their grips on it, they want to put it in almost every category they can. Not only am I saying that the Best Picture, Tar, is getting in, I think Tar will end up getting the most nominations. I might come to regret that, but yeah, that's my feeling on it. I think Tar is going to get nominated for Best Picture. Another obvious one, Everything Everywhere All at Once. The praise for this film has been nonstop since March. Critics have liked it. It made a good amount of money for the budget that it had. It's got comeback performances and stand-up performances by Michelle Yeoh, Ke Kwan, Jamie Lee Curtis. All these people have been around a long time, where the Academy are going to look at that and go, wait, these people have never been honored before? And they're going to nominate them, and they're going to feel good about it, and they're going to nominate this movie for Best Picture and feel good about it, and then that's it. It's not going to win anything else. But the fact that it's got that momentum and it's got that narrative going in with it is going to lead to it getting nominated for Best Picture. That's another obvious Best Picture nomination, and that will be for Everything Everywhere All at Once. The last obvious one that is divisive, but I know is going to get nominated anyway, is Elvis. Elvis is going to ride on Austin Butler until it can't ride no more. And it's going to ride into a Best Picture nomination. And it's going to rely solely on Austin Butler. And again, there has been tons of praise on Austin Butler's performance on Elvis. If people do have issues with the Elvis movie, because it has such a key actor, an acting performance that carries the entire film, and because the Academy loves biopics, and I mean loves biopics, they're going to want to honor this movie, which means Elvis gets in just on that alone. So Elvis gets in for Best Picture. The next 5 are squirrely, I guess I can say. These are long shots, some of you might think, but I am fairly comfortable thinking these will get nominated and will come in. The first one that I'll say that might be a surprise that will get in is Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick took the world by storm when it came out. It surprised everyone for being as good as it was. Critics liked it. Audiences loved it. It made a ton of money. And with that, and it's got Tom Cruise that is leading a very good performance that people really like in the movie. This is going to lead to Top Gun Maverick getting I think, a Best Picture nomination and some nominations in key categories too, which I talked about in the previous videos. I think he's going to get Best Director. I think Best Actor for Tom Cruise is going to get in there. I think this is going to lead to Top Gun Maverick getting Best Picture as well in this. It will be the main blockbuster on here that made gobs and gobs of money that exceeded the original, which people did not think was going to happen, but it ended up doing. So I think it's going to mean that Top Gun Maverick gets Best Picture nomination on this. The next one, which is the first foreign language film that is going to be nominated here, is All Quiet on the Western Front. The talk of this movie has been pretty loud since it came out in October. And war movies is something that the Academy loves to honor, especially if they're good. And the talk of All Quiet on the Western Front is that it is outstanding, that it is a really good war movie. This does have the issue of it being a foreign language film, but I think the Academy is being a lot more open in the past few years to get more films that are from different countries in. Look at Parasite. Look at Minari didn't count. There's another one last year that I'm forgetting. Oh, Drive My Car. How did I not forget Drive My Car? It was my favorite movie that year. The Academy wants to put more foreign language films in, and I think All Quiet on the Western Front gets in there as well. So that's my pick for one of, there's a few more, one of the foreign language films that gets nominated for Best Picture. The next one's Living. So Living's weird. Living has only been getting praise for Bill Nighy for his performance in the film, and that is kind of it. I think Living gets in based on that. Let me put it this way. I think Living gets in two ways. One, because Bill Nighy's performance is getting a lot of praise, and two, I think it's going to be the Adrian Brody effect, and what that means, and this is rumored, I don't have any concrete evidence of this, but apparently how Adrian Brody won Best Actor of the year he did was that that voters were trying to choose between Daniel Day-Lewis and Jack Nicholson. And the way the voting is that they have to reach a certain threshold in order to win. And they didn't, which led to the third place person meeting the threshold, which is Adrian Brody, who got the win for Best Actor. That's rumored. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that would explain how he won for The Pianist that year. I think this is going to lead to Living getting in there, just sneaking in there and surprising people. Say, oh, that got in? Wow. And I don't think Living is going to get that many nominations. I think it's going to get Bill Nighy, maybe a writing, maybe a cinematography, maybe editing, and that's it. I don't think it gets anywhere else. Maybe costume design. But that's it. I don't think Living goes anywhere else. But I think this will surprise people in getting a Best Picture nomination. The next foreign language film, well, yeah, I guess it counts as a foreign language film. The next foreign language film that I think is going to get nominated is Triangle of Sadness. Triangle of Sadness won the Palme d'Or, so it's got some credibility in its name when it comes to movies that are going to be in nomination contention. It's gotten a lot of good buzz. It's got a lot of talk. It is going on streaming and on services at the right time, so people can plunk down $6 to rent it and watch it. So they have that in there as well. And Dolly De Leon, I think, is going to get nominated for Best Supporting Actress. So there is a little bit of that as well. And Ruben Östlund is a director I think that the Academy has wanted to honor at some point, and this might be it. And the themes in the movie kind of fit to where the Academy wants to fashion where they're, I guess, where they want to go in the direction of what they want to honor. So I think this will lead to Triangle of Sadness getting a nomination for Best Picture. That's the second foreign language film. And the 10th film, which I think will surprise a lot of you, which I might be wrong on, but the 10th film that I think that will make it is also a foreign language film that took the world by storm, and I think is still continuing to surprise and delight people as they watch it for the Oscars, is RRR. RRR got big on social media in around April, May-ish, I think. And because of that, a lot of GIFs, a lot of videos start going around about certain sequences in the movie. Specifically, the Not To song that is being nominated for Best Song. Now, some people are going to think, oh, but that's the most it will get. I don't think so. I think this was a big deal this year, and the Academy will want to show how diverse they are and want to get something like RRR in when it comes to Best Picture nominees. That, and it's gotten a lot of praise, and there is a big enough fan base that if RRR gets nominated, people will be really happy it did get nominated. It has no shot of winning, of course, but when that gets released, that it's gotten nominated for Best Picture, that's going to make a lot of people who are big film fans happy. Whereas, let's say some things that they want to get snubbed, they're going to say along the lines of, well, let's say The Woman King. Oh, The Woman King got snubbed, but if RRR got in, okay, I guess it's a wash. I think that is kind of the tactical thing going on here that might happen. I think there's going to be more foreign films in the Best Picture category than any other year, and I think RRR is going to be one of them as well. So that is my decision. I think RRR is going to get the 10th nomination for Best Picture. Okay, so here are my 10 predictions for nominees for Best Picture. The 5 that are not going to be surprised: The Fabelmans, The Banshees of Inisherin, Tar, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Elvis. And the 5 surprises that I think might get in are Top Gun Maverick, All Quiet on the Western Front, Living, Triangle of Sadness, and RRR. The nominations will be announced on Tuesday, January 24th, with the ceremony being March 12th, 2023. That's it for all the nominations for the big categories that I have. I think what I will do is I will do another special podcast on Tuesday when they're announced, going over how accurate I was and what I think was a surprise, what wasn't a surprise when it comes to what was announced for the Oscars. And then shortly before the time in which the Oscars are running, which is March 12th, I will do who I think might win. But between then, what my plan is, after I'm done with the Sight and Sound 100 for this month, I'm going to start watching the movies that got nominated for Oscars this year, including Best Picture, Best Actor, Writing, Directing, Cinematography. I'm going to watch a bunch of them and see how it turns out for those films and what I think of them. So look forward to that. But until then, this is the Capital Games Movie Club. I am The Wiz. Talk to you next time. Bye.